So even though jungle tanks tend to be in a sorry state in comparison to their bruiser brethren, I still enjoy playing them, and I am sure a lot of players prefer to play them instead. The new jungle does kick the ass of a lot of tank junglers, but there are a couple of easy ways to mitigate the harshness of the first and second clear. There are two methods of bolstering your early clearing, and they are both very viable, but require different factors to be taken into account. One of the methods is far better if you do not know how strong your leash will be, or if you do know how strong the leash will be, and it happens to suck. And it unfortunately requires you to tamper with your build and alter it in something that you may not prefer for your jungle tank. The other method allows you to take any build you want, runes and masteries, but even with a leash will often require you to forfeit your potential for an early gank and hinder your versatility when clearing. The first method is a sustain method. This one requires you to take sustain quintessence runes, health regeneration, spell vamp, life seal, or armor, and it also requires you to go halfway into the utility tree and forfeit offensive masteries entirely, even if your champion would have preferred them. This build will give your potions more value, give you an extra potion to start off with, give you longer buff times, and overall make you more efficient at clearing. Coupled with a leash, even the weakest of tank junglers should be able to make a full clear before going back, or squeeze in a gank prior to backing. The obvious fault in this is that you are taking runes and masteries that may not translate well later into the game, and you are losing combat effectiveness. It is basically trading a stronger mid-game for a much more secure early game. The second method is the exact opposite. You take the runes and masteries you want and are more reliant on your teammates helping you, so you do not get crippled or slowed to a crawl. This method usually will not allow you to gank when you reach level 3 or you secure your second buff. However, there is a way to pad your clearing if you choose to build yourself more traditionally. The safe clear path is very efficient for tank junglers who use either the sustain method or the traditional method, although it is generally overkill for the sustain junglers. You basically start off on either the Gromp or the Rock Turtles, whichever is more relevant to your champion, then you move to the closest buff, red or blue, and then to the next closest monster camp, which would be the Razor Beak for red or the Wolves for the blue buff. This will gain you level 3. Most tanks should have used one potion, though it's not uncommon for tanks to use two, if they had no leash or they had a terrible one, or they're the few tank junglers who just suck and still get demolished with a sustain method. After that, you return to the fountain and you upgrade your machete item to your preferred upgrade, and then simply clear the other side of the jungle using the same method. This will get you to level 4 with plenty of health and several potions. Using a blue start as an example, this is basically the route you'd be taking. Gromp, blue, wolves, fountain, turtles, red, and then razor beaks. Use smite whenever it is off cooldown for the buffs and the experience gain. Keep in mind that this leaves you exposed to a jungle invasion and can be very risky if your opponent is one that likes to steal buffs. I would only recommend you take this path if you know your buff is going to be secure and or you know you aren't fighting an invasion happy jungler. I would recommend the sustain method if you aren't too sure about the reliability of your teammates, or if you feel you're going to have to be reapplying constant pressure onto your opponents and banking constantly is not an option. The traditional method would be recommended if you feel you aren't going to be harassed and are going to need to min-max the game in order to be effective.